Hello and welcome to a brand new Transfer Talk episode. I am Diyar and as always, I'm joined by Harvey from the Red and Blue side to discuss the latest, not really transfer news, but we can talk about potential players that we could bring into the club and potential players that we think could leave the club in this summer window. Now that it's been announced, so yesterday Premier League shareholders did agree that on July the 27th, the window will open and it will end on the 5th of October. For 10 weeks, the transfer window will be open. I'm pretty sure Palace will be busy. So Harvey, let's get started. Let's go through each position and let's discuss if we need any players, because right now it's not looking good for Palace. It really isn't. And even before this window opened, we have needed some players in certain positions. So let's start at the goalkeeper position. So I don't know about you, but I've been thinking this for a couple of seasons now. We need a new backup goalkeeper. Wayne Hennessy, it doesn't matter if he performs well, if he doesn't perform well. He's not going to win the Palace fans. He's just not. I don't know what it is, but since he's come to the club, you can see it. His performances against Liverpool wasn't that great as well. I think it's been crazy that he's been at the club for so long. I think this is the perfect opportunity to go and get a new goalkeeper, a new backup goalkeeper. Nothing too expensive, but I don't know if you agree with me there, because I think Vicente Guaita is fine as a number one. No problems there. It's just a backup goalkeeper that really frustrates me.
Yeah, and it's good to hear that Guaita, I think he came out and said he's looking, because he's already well on his way to, he's had 50 appearances at the club already, I believe now, and he just hit that mark, and he says, I'm already looking at 100 appearances and more. So, when he says stuff like that, that's good to hear, because there were rumours that City would be coming in for him as like a backup keeper for them or something like that. So that's good to hear. As for Hennessy, I agree. He started off well at Palace, he did, and I think he had a good period at the start of his time at the club. But as you mentioned, as soon as he has a bad game, it seems like he'll go one step forward, two steps back. He never seems to be consistent, and that just feels not just the fans with nerves, but you can tell the defense is nervous when he's in goal. There's crosses that come in, and you're like, come and catch it, Hennessy. You're the tallest man on the pitch. Exactly. And he wouldn't do it. And there's stuff like that, and it just sets the tone for the back four and the defence, when, especially from set pieces where we've been poor defensively for the last couple of seasons now, in my opinion. Having him in goal, it just doesn't really feel your confidence. And I get what you mean totally. I'd love to see, and it's not just for goalkeeper, I think with a number of positions, I'd love to see some youngsters from the academy being fed in, just mainly because, we're now officially Category 1 Academy, we've got the new development. It makes no sense for me not to start playing youth players and just show off the Premier League and the world. Look, we're now Category 1 Academy. We've got all these youngsters that are like Wan-Bissaka, like Zaha, that are good enough to get into the first team. It's a great way to advertise the club, and there are players in there that I think are good enough to at least be backups for some of the positions in the first 11 right now. So I'd love to see a youngster come through and get that backup role to Guaita, but I totally agree with you. I do think that it's a position that, unfortunately, and Hennessy, he should be looking for first team football now anyway at this stage of his career. I think that's the right move for everyone.
Yeah, I think he's been at the club for way too long, and it's just proven that it's just never going to work out. I think he's in his 30s as well. So
shame. Yeah,
he's in his 30s as well. So as you said, he should be looking to play first team football. He always plays for Wales, which is surprising because despite not playing that much for Palace,
I haven't really got anyone else.
Yeah, to be fair, they haven't. But he might just be happy with that because at Palace he doesn't play and he still gets selected. But let's talk about the defense now. So that we've agreed on backup goalkeeper. Vicente Guaita is the main man to keep us in goal for the upcoming season. For defense, there's a couple of positions that I want to talk about. I'm not too sure about you, but a new right back, that's not rocket science. I think it's fairly 100%. Simple. I don't know what's happening with Nathan Ferguson because we haven't been on this for a while. We haven't been talking for a while. But I remember it was been a couple of weeks now that it seemed like Nathan Ferguson was set to join, but it's quiet. It's gone quiet again. But a new right back is needed. A new young right back like Nathan Ferguson. Hopefully that one can come through. And there's nothing else to say. We haven't replaced Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which is crazy considering it's been a whole year and he's coming back to Palace and to face us. And whilst recording this, it's on the day of Man United game. So we need a new right back.
Totally agree. That is the number one spot. I think before anything else, new right back. And that's nothing against Wardy. I think he's done a brilliant job throughout this season to fill in that role because there's a lot of pressure on him. because he realised there's not really any backup there. You know, Kelly can play at right back, but he's more of a centre back under Roy. You know, there's not really any backup to Ward this season. So for him to play, I think, as regularly as he has in that right back position, because he is obviously the only choice we have, I think he's done pretty well, of course, across the whole season. It's just clear to see that he's not quite there. You know, he's not quick enough. He's positionally he's good, but he just gets done. But you know, Premier League wingers nowadays, it's so hard to defend them in the best of times. When you're, you know, just turning 30 and you're starting to lose pace that you can't afford to lose, it makes it so much harder for him. And I love Joel Ward, and I do think he should stay as a backup right back to whoever we do bring in. But he's just not, I think, at the quality right now to start. But he's definitely the right mentality, like person with the, you know, right mindset to have in the dressing room and to keep at the club.
Yeah, I think it's been unfair on him, to be fair. Going into the season, just relying on Joel Ward to stay fit, to play all these games and not having another option. It's criminal to put Martin Kelly at right back, as you mentioned, because Premier League wingers are different now to compared to what we saw even maybe 5 years ago. You got so much pace there. You got so much focus on width. So, yeah, I don't see Martin Kelly as a right back. So a new right back is needed. But what about a new centre back? I'm not too sure. I personally don't think we need one, because we've seen that despite injuries happening, I know Gary Cahill is out for the rest of the season, but despite injuries happening, we've still managed to have suitable replacements. But maybe that changes if Mamadou Sakho leaves. But if Sakho doesn't leave, because Martin Kelly can play centre-back, I think we're pretty much safe in that area, because we don't want to just spend money for the sake of it. We want to spend on areas that we need. I personally don't think a centre-back should be a priority, but maybe you see it differently.
No, I agree. I agree. I don't think it'll be a priority by any means, and we've got to bear in mind, you know, this is like our wish list almost that we're doing here. Like, these are the dream positions that we want to cover in the window, like incomings, and obviously we'll get onto a few outgoings. But you know, we're not going to have that much money to spend. I just know we're not going to have a lot to spend, and you don't even need to tell me. It's a shame, but I can just, you know, that's going to be the case. So we're going to be working on a budget. And centre-back's definitely low down on the list for me. It's one of the few positions where we actually have good depth. The only thing you can say is they're all really old.
I was actually thinking about that right now, because we are trying to lower the average age of squad. And when you look at our centre-backs, you got Scott down there,
30.
you got Mamadou Sakho, Gary Cahill. I think Martin Kelly's the youngest player out there, but I'm not. Yeah, he's turning 30 as well. So in that aspect, then, yeah, we do need another centre-back, but it might be one of the things where we just have to wait to focus on other positions, then afterwards. Yeah, and then afterwards focus on that after we make sure that we got our priorities all sorted.
Yeah, and you're right, because we are quite injury-prone in that position as well. I think that's the one area of the pitch where we keep getting injuries no matter what. And having a young centre-back, again, it's a chance, if we have one of them going, probably Sakho at this stage, we have to say, and the rest did stay for another year. Having a youngster come in to fill that Sakho role as a backup centre-back, again, it's a chance for someone like Sam Woods, who's been in and out of the team. At the end of last season, he had an appearance, didn't he? And he's been on the bench every now and then. He's knocking on the door of getting an opportunity. He'd be perfect as cover. You know, I don't see why not there. So ways to save money, of course, because as I mentioned, we're on a tight budget, but also trying to bring in these youngsters at the right time because of the situation we're in with the academy, Category 1 status. It's just the perfect time to start, you know, bleeding in the youngsters.
Talking about Category 1 status, we've got Tyrick Mitchell, who of course hasn't benefited from that yet, but he has shown potential. He has shown potential when he has played the amount of games that Roy has given him, the little amount of minutes, and that's a left back is a position which I'm not too sure about whether we need to buy or so, because with Roy Hodgson, he's not the one to trust youth, but we don't know if Tyrick Mitchell can be a decent even cover option for a left back. So it's hard. I don't know if we should go get a left back. I don't know what you think about it. We've got PVA there. I think even though he can't really defend, defensively he ain't the greatest. He's good going forward. Yes. And we've got Mitchell there, which is a question mark for me. Can he actually be a decent backup option? I'm not too sure. So I'm not too sure if we should go out there and get a left back. Then we'll have three there. Is it worth it? I'm confused. I don't know.
Yeah, I get you. I think again, it's a bit of it's a tough one, because we're all hyped about Mitchell, because he's someone that in the pre-season he looked really good. I think we can all agree. He got a bad injury, and that's so unfortunate for him. and is now back, and he's instantly, or I say instantly, he's almost instantly being put into the bench and on the bench for the first team, and he's been in and around the first team squad. He's been training with the first team. So that's a sign for me that people at the club think he's good enough to be involved in the first team setup at least. And I'll trust in their judgment, because there's so many youngsters that don't get that opportunity to even get to train with the first team, let alone, get appearances. The fact he's had minutes now in the Premier League's great. I know it's only 10 minutes he got in the game. Who was it against? It was Leicester. He got the 10 minutes.
Leicester, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's only 10 minutes, but it's a start. Roy's starting to get there.
Yeah,
but
10 minutes though. We can't, but that's the thing. I can't judge Mitchell by 10 minutes.
Exactly. That's my point.
So it's one of the things where if he is good, then that's great. I mean, we've got lucky there because he has lived up to the hype. But what if he's not as good as we all think he is? It's been
one of those Wan-Bissaka moments. When Wan-Bissaka came in, he was a winger turned defender. Came in at the time, I hold my hands up. I didn't know anything about Wan-Bissaka. I knew he was an academy and he was highly rated, but last I heard of him, he almost left the club. So I was like, oh God, right back, we've got to watch it, because we were playing Spurs at the time. We're going to get ripped open at right back. He had a really good debut against Spurs, and then it goes on from there. So you don't really know until you give them, I think, give them a chance, and you see whether they're up for the fight, if they've got what it takes to, battle it out in the Prem. And even if he doesn't start regularly, I think the fact he's a bit like Wan-Bissaka in terms of he likes to defend, from what I've seen of him, anyway, in the academy. So he offers something different to Van Aanholt. So it gives you that option at least.
Yeah. Let's now talk about the midfield. I don't know if we need new midfielders, especially if Roy's at the club. Ideally, I want us to have more creative players, but he's not going to play them. He's not really going to play them. We've seen it with Max Meyer. We've been calling for it for how long? Let's have him in the midfield free. Let's have him as the player who pushes forward and gives the passes out wide and helps his striker. But we haven't seen that, and for that reason, I don't think we need any more central midfielders, because we know what's going to happen. It's going to be 3 defensive-minded midfielders, and we've got loads of them at the club already. So I don't think we desperately need midfielders, and I'm not too sure about wide players. I'm not too sure if we need a winger. Townsend, of course, is there. Wilfried Zaha's there. Speculation.
It all circles around whether Wilf stays or goes. It all depends on that. A whole transfer window.
Yeah. So if Wilf stays, do you think we need another wide player or?
Tough. I think for me, I would feel a bit more comfortable with a backup. Yes. Not necessarily someone to. Again, Pierrick is the one that shouts out at me. He's on the bench right now. He's looked lively. He had a good game against Norwich. Was a key part of the equalising goal away to Norwich at New Year. So for me, he's there knocking on the door, not necessarily of a starting spot, but he's at least there putting pressure on Townsend and Zaha, and obviously Ayew when he does play out in the wing. Because as much as I like Ayew on the wing, I prefer him up front personally. But Townsend and Zaha, they don't really have anyone challenging their spot. Schlupp maybe, but Roy likes to play him in the midfield, and it backs up your point about we've got good depth in midfield at least. So I would like to see a winger come in as a backup. If we do sell Zaha, then instantly that is alongside right back. That's my priority, is a winger / a forward player. Ollie Watkins, Eze from QPR, who we mentioned before, they're players that scream out to me as young players who are hungry and could fill in the role. It all depends on whether Zaha stays or goes.
Yeah, we're not really talking about rumours today, but I'll just mention that Zaha has been linked to numerous clubs already. It's already started, and the window's not open.
As soon as the window gets confirmed,
exactly,
the dates.
Exactly. There's so many clubs out there. Premier League, exactly. Here we go. There's lots of Premier League clubs. There's clubs from abroad are interested in him. It's going to be a long summer. I'm just not ready for it. I'll be honest with you. Talking about Will for 10 weeks. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But striker. See, I think getting rid of Connor Wickham, even if he's out on loan, we needed another striker. Of course, Cenk Tosun, he came into the club, he got injured, but striker is one position that we need to focus on. As much as I like Benteke's role at the club right now, with him helping others come into the game, he's not going to score goals. Of course, he did score against Chelsea, which was very surprising because I never even expected a simple tapping like that because he hasn't been given opportunities.
That's what he needs, to be honest.
Yeah. But we need another striker. I think we need another striker, and I'm not too sure about you, but we need a striker like Michy Batshuayi, a player who's more comfortable on the ball, because I feel like Benteke covers the plan B side of things, even though Roy doesn't have a plan B, whereas he can bring the balls down and he can help the wide players. But we need someone who can go and run with the wide players in attack.
Yeah.
And I think Michy Batshuayi type of player, I think we do need that this summer, because even Jordan Ayew, we ask an awful lot from him. If he wasn't scoring them goals, we would be in deep trouble right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah, a striker. I'm sorry. I appreciate Benteke, his role in the side in terms of linking up players. You mentioned his hold-up play and flick-ons from long balls has been quite brilliant. Actually, he's won so many of them over the last few weeks and months since he's come back into the team. But he just doesn't score, and that is the thing that's crying out more. This season has been our worst season, I think, and the stats probably back it up in terms of goal scoring. We just totally blown out the water in terms of goals. All the other teams are miles ahead of us, and even Norwich, they score loads of goals. It's just their defense is crap. That's the reason they've gone down. We are so lucky that we're in a position where we can defend well. We scored goals at Ayew, not the team. Ayew has scored goals at crucial times in games that has got us the 3 points. West Ham being a great example, striker. We need a guy who can score 15 plus goals a season to just settle the club down, settle the nerves in a season, settle the fans down at least. And to have a striker like when Benteke first came to the club and scored so many goals in that debut season that he had, it lifts everyone to have a goal scoring forward. And to have these years we've had no striker scoring goals for us, it will just bring everyone a bit of a boost, and it will help the players. It will bring confidence through balls, and everything will be much more, precise, and will not, the players won't be judging whether or not to play a ball, because, if the striker's scoring, then that gives confidence to the rest of the squad to give him the ball ASAP. So striker we need, just for the benefit, not just because goals are a big problem for us right now, but for the benefit of just the whole mentality around the club right now. I think it would help everyone.
Yeah, the only thing I'm worried about with strikers is, even this season, when you're looking at it, it's not like Jordan Ayew has been put in positions where he's there just to score goals. Sometimes he has to create it. We've seen against West Ham.
He's come so deep. Goals.
Yeah. He's so deep, and that's the one thing I'm worried about. We can go and get a striker. Yes, we can go and do that, but even if he's proven out to be one of the greatest strikers, Roy will still somehow make him defensive. He'll still run back. He'll still manage to track back. And that's the only thing I'm worried about. That's why, ideally, I would prefer Michy Batshuayi. But, of course, that's going to be very hard. We'll see what happens.
I think a lot of people agree with that. A lot of people agree with that.
Because he's the one striker that actually managed to score goals. He wasn't brilliant. Don't get me wrong. He didn't come in and alight all worlds. He didn't do that. He just scored goals when he got opportunities.
No bedding in period. He'd come straight in because he's been on loan here before, and he plays. And when he was here, the runs he made were brilliant. Some of the off the ball movement was the best off the ball movement I've seen from a striker since we got promoted. So, he's there. He's good enough. 100%. Chelsea aren't playing him. He should be a target for me.
Yeah. Now let's talk about some players that we could have potentially offloaded somewhere as well. This is equally important in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you're paying wages to some of these players who are not performing as well, maybe not even playing as much. So one player that I want to start with, then I'll give you a go as well, is Max Meyer. Now this sounds crazy, but I just don't see it working out for him under Roy Hodgson. Well, it hasn't worked out. It's not I don't see it. It hasn't worked out. Now, if we got a different manager, then I would like to see him have another go, because the system we're playing in right now is so negative towards him, which it just doesn't work out. Yes, you can argue that he's not the greatest player. He's not. He hasn't been that great, and he hasn't performed or whatever. But I just don't think the system has suited him. So as a result, if Roy Hodgson's staying at the club, and you look at Max Meyer, who's not, he's not the highest owner of the club, but he's earning a decent amount. So I would potentially get rid of him to create some wage space. But what do you think?
Yeah, I get what you mean totally. Personally, and again, yeah, I agree with the sense that it kind of, a lot of these positions and transfer deals, it revolves around Roy at the moment. Will Roy
Mm.
stay this summer? And I think that is our biggest, whether incoming or outgoing, is Roy Hodgson. Because if he goes, I think that, and then the Roy out. The Roy out on social media is much louder and larger than I think it's ever been. And I think there's a lot of points, that I would agree with, that they raise, and that I totally think that Roy needs to at least try and it's hard for him because of his age and stuff. He needs to try and work out a plan B, and there's a load of things Roy needs to sort out because he's very stale at the moment. But as you mentioned, Max, I think that under a new manager, he would be a lot better player than he is at the moment. I think the problem is, for me, I still haven't seen him play consistently for us, as in have a consistent run in the team. And when he has played, he's been stuck out on the wing, and he's not a winger. He's a midfielder. And I don't care what Roy says about him saying he likes playing out on the wing. He doesn't. He's a centre midfielder. He played there for Schalke all the way through the youth setup and into the first team. Was one part of the golden generation in Germany. Was one that that sort of player doesn't turn crap overnight.
Yeah, he's come to Crystal Palace and he can't even play football at times. I think that's not. You know what? I don't want to blame, as you said, I don't want to blame Max Meyer for this, because there have been games where he has been positive when he has played alongside Will. But that's the thing; he has to play in central areas, and we haven't seen much of that. Now, I would like him to stay at the club. I know what you're going to say. But is he going to be playing in midfield? That's the thing. If he's not, then that's money wasted once again.
It's crying out, and it's what frustrates me so much. We're playing with 3 DMs in the midfield, and yes, they've been our starting midfielders for most of the season and have done very well. Kiarte and MacArthur have done very well for most of the season. Luca, not as much, but he's our captain at the end of the day. He will play most games. As well as the midfield 3 have played, and the energy they give has been great. They work very hard. You look in the attacking areas, and we are so void of any creativity or, someone who will look to take the ball in the half turn and run out of defence and pick a pass through to the striker. And Max Meyer, when he does come on in those central areas for 5 minutes, whenever he comes off the bench, you can just see that turn of pace, that little set, his low centre of gravity. You can see he turns very tightly, looks to run at a player and try and pick a pass. He's trying at least. We don't have anyone who plays in that role who has any sort of attacking mindset, and he's the only player. So I would keep him for that sense, because he had something different to the midfield. If he goes, then all of our midfielders are just, it's not. I'm not slagging them off. I'm just saying none of them can play in that role efficiently, in my opinion. They're all playing in the same position effectively right now. So I would keep Max for that one reason, that he offers something different, and I do think if he starts consistently in the team, he could nail down that spot.
So do you have any other players? So Max, you would want him to stay?
In terms of players going, I think we mentioned average age is such a problem. I think Sacco, I wouldn't be too against him going. I think his time could be coming up, mainly because of his injuries. On his day, he's good, but his injuries are just affecting us too much, and his wages are massive. I think he's one that could go. I could see someone like Wickham going when he comes back. I think that could be, some of the fringe players who, and I feel bad for Wickham because, again, injuries have plagued his time at Palace. And it's a lot of the players that's been the case. I think it's just some of those players who are not necessarily dead certain to be starting 11 players, but they're players that are getting on a bit and are on big money. I think we've got to look to offload.
Yeah, Saka's been rumoured to leave the club. He's been rumoured to go to Lyon. How much do you think he's worth? How much do you think Palace should sell him for?
Again, it's tough. I think until we see a few actual signings happening in this window, we won't really get an idea of what the going rate is now. Post COVID, we're still in COVID-19 world right now, but in a coronavirus transfer market. What is the going rate for a Mamadou Sakho? I personally don't know. I think we'll definitely make a loss on him. We're not going to sell him for what we got for him at all. I think anywhere from around 15 million would be a good bit of business for me, I think, for him right now. And I think that's a reasonable fee to ask for.
I think I'll go a bit lower. I think I'll go a bit lower to around £10 million, due to the fact that he's got so much. His wages are just too high. It's just one of them things where he's not performing enough. And I don't mind selling him if he's going
Yeah,
to release wages. So if
I
15 million,
agree.
15 million is fair price, but if it doesn't happen and they're saying we'll pay 10 million, then I think you should just
Take the
be sold
money.
for 10,
Yeah.
10 million. Yeah, take the money and move on. But let us know what you think in the comments down below. We've talked we've talked for a bit now about players coming into the
It's a
club,
big
players
topic.
leaving the club. Yeah, it's a big topic. Let us know what
Important.
play. Yeah, very important because we've got Asian squad, and we can brush it aside, but at the end of the
If we
day,
mess this up, we could go down next season. That's how
yeah.
important it is.
Yeah, 100%. And let us know what you think. Let us know what players that you'd want to bring into the club, potential actual names. We haven't talked about names, we've talked about positions, and maybe some players that you'd want to get rid of the club. Like Sako, do you think he should go? Let us know in the comments down below. And until next time, up the Palace.